All stories posted on our channel are stories from our subscribers and created by us based on real events we've experienced and witnessed. We post new stories every day for your entertainment, that we hope you enjoy them. Thank you.
The house didn't echo until she left. It's a strange thing, silence. It's not just the absence of sound. It's the weight of everything that used to fill it. I could still hear Lauren's keys jingling when she got home late, her voice bouncing down the hallway, always on speakerphone, her laugh, half fake, echoing from the kitchen. But now even the fridge sounded like it was trying too hard to prove it was still working. She left 3 weeks ago, packed her things slowly, over 2 nights. Took the good towels, left me the couch and the dog, if we still had one. She didn't say goodbye, just left a note. We've both known this was broken. I just finally had the guts to walk. She had guts, all right. I found out 2 days later that she'd been finding her courage in the arms of a coworker, Tim, freaking, the kind of guy who wears loafers with no socks and calls himself a thought leader, the kind of guy who laughs at his own jokes before finishing them. 10 years of gone, not with a fight, not even with a bang, just a whisper and a good luck scribbled in pen on the back of a grocery list. I didn't fall apart dramatically. No shouting, no bourbon-soaked meltdowns. It was more like slow rot. I showered, I worked, I paid bills. I microwaved sad dinners and left the TV on just so the house didn't feel dead. It wasn't pain. It was numbness disguised as function. Then came Tuesday, trash day, the only day of the week where neighbors emerged in bathrobes and Crocs to pretend like we weren't all quietly unraveling in our separate boxes. That's when I saw her, Amanda. She lived across the street in the yellow house with the cracked driveway and the blue wind chimes. Single mom, 2 kids, never saw a man there. I assumed she'd been through her own version of hell. There was a tiredness in her eyes that only people with battle scars wore. She was dragging her bin to the curb when our eyes met. She gave a small wave. I did too. Then, for some reason, I walked over. She looked surprised. I looked surprised at myself. I hadn't made spontaneous conversation in months. "Hey," I said, standing there with my hands shoved into my hoodie like they were hiding something. Weird question. Amanda raised an eyebrow. "That's always a great opener." I smiled, nervous. "Could you keep me company?" It came out fast. Too fast. No build-up. Just pure raw need in 6 words. She blinked. "What kind of company?" "Not the kind that makes things messier," I said, lifting my... I've been climbing the walls over there. I'm not good at being alone, or quiet, or left. She studied me, not with suspicion, more like curiosity. Then she gave a small, real smile. "I made too much lasagna. You in?" Her house was warm in a way mine hadn't been for months. Not temperature, atmosphere. There were mismatched chairs around the table, toys tucked under the couch, a hand-drawn calendar on the fridge that said, "Camp Money Due," in bright red marker. It smelled like cinnamon, soap, and something baked, real. She handed me a plate, still warm from the oven, and sat across from me at the small kitchen table. The light above flickered once, then stayed steady. "I hope you're not allergic to gluten," she said, picking up her fork. "After what I've eaten this past month, I think my body would thank you for real food." She smiled. "You want to talk about it?" I hesitated, then nodded. "My wife left me for a guy named Tim, who has a podcast about confidence and cigars." Amanda burst out laughing. "You're kidding." "I wish." "Okay," she said, taking a bite. "You win the X-Roulette." I laughed too. It felt weird, foreign, like a sneeze that turned into... "What about you?" I asked. She shrugged. "He left when Mia was 4 and Tyler was still a toddler. Said he wasn't cut out for fatherhood." I told him it wasn't a camping trip. He left anyway. There was no bitterness in her tone, just practiced detachment, like a scar she was used to showing. "Have you had company since?" She snorted. "Does pizza delivery count?" I laughed again. "Twice in one night. Record break. We talked for hours. About nothing and everything. Shows we watched half asleep. Weird neighbors. The dumbest arguments we'd had in our old marriages. She told me about her kid's obsession with slime. I told her about the time Lauren made me sleep on the couch for using her face cream as foot lotion. Somewhere between stories, the lasagna disappeared. She made tea. I drank it even though I hate tea. When I finally stood to leave, it was past midnight. She walked me to the door, not in a flirty way, just decent, human. "I'm not usually this open," I said, putting my shoes on. Amanda leaned against the frame. "Neither am I. I'm probably gonna overthink this whole thing tomorrow." She smirked. "Good. That makes 2 of us." I paused. "Thanks. For the company." She nodded. "Anytime." And I believed her. That night I slept through for the first time in 3 weeks. No bad dreams, no fridge hum, just peace. The next morning felt different. Not better, not healed, just different. I woke up without the usual crushing weight in my chest. For the first time in weeks, I didn't check my phone hoping Lauren had sent some kind of apology, or even a sarcastic meme. There was nothing, and strangely, I didn't care. Instead, I kept thinking about lasagna, and Amanda, and the way she listened, really listened, like she'd been where I was, and instead of throwing me a lifeline, she just sat beside me in the damn water and said, "Yeah, it's cold, let's float." By lunchtime, I was pacing my kitchen, trying to convince myself that asking her over again wouldn't be because it wasn't weird, right? Right. I walked outside. Her car was in the driveway, but the blinds were half drawn. I hesitated. What was the line here? Too soon? Too casual? Too desperate? Then she opened the door before I even knocked. "Thought I saw you lurking," she said, amused. "Busted." She leaned against the frame, arms crossed. "Something wrong?" "No," I said. "I just figured you fed me last night. Thought I'd return the favor." She raised an eyebrow. "You cook?" "I microwave," I correct. "But I make a mean grilled cheese, and I've got an unopened bag of kettle chips." "Gourmet," she deadpanned. "Don't act like you're not tempted." She grinned. "All right. One condition." "What's that?" "No sad marriage talk tonight. Just normal human conversation. TV, music, terrible life advice, you name it." I nodded. "Deal." And just like that, we had ourselves a pact. She showed up an hour later in jeans and a hoodie with a paint stain on the sleeve. No makeup, no pretense. She carried a bottle of root beer and a half-empty bag of popcorn. "Kids?" I asked as she stepped inside. "With their dad this weekend. You okay with that?" I've made peace with the handoff, mostly. I understood that. In ways I wish I didn't. We sat on the floor in the living room like teenagers avoiding responsibility. I made 2 sandwiches. They were over-buttered and slightly burned. She didn't complain. We watched an episode of some true crime documentary she picked. Midway through, I paused it. "Okay, but seriously, who agrees to marry a guy who owns 5 tarantulas and no furniture?" Amanda laughed. "Desperate people and extreme couponers. That's the overlap." "Reasonable." She shifted, tucking her legs underneath. "You ever do anything totally irrational after your breakup?" I thought for a second. "I bought a $300 pair of headphones I don't need." She blinked. "That's it? They're noise canceling." She laughed again. "You're adorable." "I got a terrible pixie cut and considered buying a kayak. I live in the suburbs. There's no water near me." "Bold choice." I chickened out at the checkout. Got a blender instead. It's still in the box. We fell into an easy rhythm, mocking the people on the show, swapping ridiculous roommate stories, trying to out-embarrass each other with failed first dates. But underneath it all, there was something else, something quieter. We weren't just making each other laugh. We were remembering what it felt like to be seen. At one point I asked her, "When did you know your marriage was done?" She didn't answer immediately. Then she said, "When I stopped looking forward to coming home. I'd sit in my car in the driveway and just not want to go inside." I nodded. "I know that. Same. I used to fake being asleep on the couch just to avoid talking." She looked at me and I saw it. Relief. The kind you feel when you realize you're not the only one who broke in quiet, unspectacular ways. "We really were experts at pretending," she said. "Masters of the art." She took a sip of root beer. "Do you think that's why this feels easier?" "What does?" "This. Us. Talking. Eating garbage food. Being honest." I thought about it. Maybe because we're not performing. We're just tired enough to stop pretending. "Yeah," she said. "That sounds about right." It started raining sometime after midnight, the soft kind that makes you think the world's trying to clean itself up. We'd turned the TV off by then, just sat there, surrounded by crumbs and half-told stories. She looked over. "You ever think about starting over?" "All the time," I said. "Then I think about how exhausting it sounds." She smirked. "Yeah, like someone saying, 'Hey, you want to rebuild your life using IKEA instructions written in Morse code?'" I laughed harder than I should have. And then, something shifted. Not romance, not attraction, just understanding. The kind that doesn't demand anything, doesn't expect anything, just sits with you in your mess and says, "Same here." Amanda stood up first. "All right, I should go. Want me to walk you back?" "It's 30 feet across the street. I think I can manage." We paused at the door. "Thanks," she said. "For what?" "For being normal, for being human." I gave her a small smile. "You too." She stepped into the rain and turned back. "This doesn't have to be a one-time thing." "I'd like that," I said. She nodded once. "Then, maybe tomorrow, I'll bring over the blender. Still unopened. Maybe we figure out how to use it." And just like that, she disappeared into the night. The door clicked shut, and the silence didn't hurt this time. It just waited. It started with a text that just read, "Come by if you're brave enough. Kids are home. You've been warned." I stared at it for a solid minute. We weren't anything, not officially, not emotional. At least, that's what I kept telling myself. But when I read that message, something shifted. Some part of me that had been static for months, maybe years, clicked into motion. I didn't overthink it. For once, I just grabbed my jacket, locked the door, and crossed the street. The second I stepped inside, I was hit with the kind of chaos you only get in homes run by single mothers and tiny tornadoes with arms, markers everywhere, a crayon mural on the hallway wall, something sticky on the floor that I decided not to investigate. In the living room, a little girl was singing loudly into a plastic microphone, while a boy zoomed a toy truck under the couch. Amanda stood in the middle of it, like it was all perfectly normal. She wore leggings, a hoodie that said, "I need a nap," and the look of someone who had long since surrendered to the absurdity of parenting. "You came," she said, tossing me a half-smile. I couldn't resist the promise of danger. "Good," she said. "You're babysitting." I froze. She laughed. "I'm kidding. Mostly." The girl, Mia, as I'd learned, stopped mid-song, narrowed her eyes at me, and asked, "Are you Mommy's boyfriend?" Amanda almost choked on her coffee. "Mia!" "What?" Mia said, totally unbothered. "He looks like one." I raised my hands. "I'm just a guy who eats her lasagna." "Uh-huh," Mia said, unconvinced, before returning to her concert. Tyler, her younger brother, didn't even glance up. "Do you know how to do a backflip?" "No." "Then you're useless," he said, and drove his truck straight into my foot. I liked them immediately. Amanda handed me a mug of coffee and gestured toward the couch. "Sorry about the mess." "It's not a mess," I said, sitting down carefully, avoiding a sippy cup. "It's just aggressively lived in," she smirked. "That's the nicest insult I've gotten all week." I meant it as a compliment. "I know," she said, sitting beside me. "That's why it was weird." We watched the kids for a minute. Tyler climbed onto the armrest and announced he was a sky pirate. Mia was now demanding we all clap after every verse of Let It Go, even though she clearly didn't know lyrics. "Is it always like this?" I asked. Amanda shrugged, more or less. "Do you ever get 5 minutes to yourself?" "I get 30 when they both finally pass out. I use that time to cry in the bathtub and Google therapists I can't afford." I chuckled, but there was truth under the joke. I could see it in her eyes. The tiredness. Not from the kids. From doing it all alone. "I don't know how you do it," I said quietly. "Neither do I," she said, just as quietly. "But I do." Later, after a chaotic attempt at lunch involving chicken nuggets, spilled juice, and Tyler refusing to eat anything that touched ketchup, Amanda and I found a few minutes of peace while the kids played with a tablet in the other room. She leaned back against the kitchen counter, sipping water. Her shoulders were tight. Her hair was in a messy knot that looked like it had fought a war and lost. "Be honest," she said. "Are you rethinking your life choices?" I shook my head. "Not at all." She tilted her head. "Really?" "I think this is the most real I've felt in a long time." Amanda stared at me, like she was trying to figure out if I was just saying that to be kind. I wasn't. Being in that messy house, surrounded by loud kids, was strangely grounding. My own house had felt like a tomb lately, quiet, sterile, full of echo and regret. But this was life, messy and loud and sometimes sticky but real. Amanda didn't say anything. She just nodded and looked away like she wasn't sure how to receive it. When the sun started to dip, Amanda began her practiced chaos routine, wrangling Tyler into socks, negotiating with Mia about TV time, threatening to take away screen privileges for the rest of your lives if they didn't clean up. I stood up to leave, not wanting to be in the way. "You don't have to go," she said. "I don't want to mess up the bedtime routine." She laughed. "It's already messed up, that's the routine." I hesitated at the door. "Want me to bring dinner tomorrow? You cook now?" "No," I said. "But I know a guy who makes a mean chicken tikka masala, and I own a fork." Amanda smiled. Not big, just a twitch of something in the corner of her mouth. The beginning of a maybe. "All right," she said. "Bring the fork." That night I sat on my own couch, staring at nothing in particular, and felt something I hadn't felt in a long time. Not attraction, not even hope, just belonging. Even if just for a few hours, even if just on the outskirts of someone else's crazy. I was still healing, still bruised, still unsure of who I was without Lauren. But today had given me a glimpse of something else, a different kind of normal, and I wasn't scared of it, not anymore. I hadn't been on a date in nearly 12 years. Back then, Tinder wasn't even a thing. People still met at bookstores or over overpriced drinks, not by swiping through strangers like they were trading cards. But apparently, it's what you do now. Download an app, upload a half-decent photo, pretend to be witty in 6 lines or less, and hope the algorithm blesses you with someone who isn't a bot or a disaster. So, I tried it. Her name was Bree, marketing consultant, dog lover, self-described brunch enthusiast. Her profile picture showed her smiling in front of a mountain, which I found out later was a stock image she used because she looked good in it. Whatever. She messaged first. That felt like a win. We agreed to meet for dinner at a place I hadn't been to since before Lauren left. I even ironed a shirt. Not because I was excited, because I didn't want to look like someone who had been eating sadness out of Tupperware for 3 months. Bree was already at the table when I arrived. Polished, pretty, sharp heels and sharper eyeliner. Jason? She asked, standing and offering her hand like we were closing a real estate. That's me. She gave a rehearsed smile. Nice to meet you. And just like that, the illusion began. The conversation wasn't bad, but it wasn't good either. It was the kind of talk that happened when two people were trying too hard to sound okay. She told me about her clients. I nodded. I told her I worked in IT. She nodded. We both laughed at things that weren't funny. We both talked in bullet points. She asked if I had kids. I said no. Technically true, and easier than explaining how I'd spent Sunday cutting crusts off sandwiches for someone else's children while singing backup vocals to Let It Go. Any recent relationships? She asked, sipping her wine like a polite shark. Divorced, I replied, blunt. 3 months ago. Her eyes flicked up. Oh, that's fresh. Yeah. She shifted in her seat. Do you feel ready to be dating again? That one hit harder than I expected. I looked at her, at the perfect lighting, the curated outfit, the carefully constructed questions. And all I could think was, you are not Amanda. Amanda wouldn't be wearing heels. She wouldn't be pretending to care about office politics. She'd be in sneakers, probably carrying a kid's backpack, yelling at someone to put on actual pants before leaving the house. She would have made fun of the waiter's man butt. She would have asked me how I really slept last night. She would have brought root beer in her purse and dared me to drink it with steak. And suddenly, I didn't want to be at that table, and I didn't want the performance. I wanted noise, mess, real. I excused myself to the bathroom. I splashed water on my face and stared into the mirror like it owed me something. Then I did what any rational man in the middle of an identity crisis. I texted Amanda. This is the most boring human interaction I've ever paid. Please tell me something chaotic your kids did. 3 dots appeared instantly. Then, Mia cut Barbie's hair to look more like you. Tyler tried to feed a Cheerio to a spider. You miss us yet? Yes. Yes, I did. I stared at the message longer than I should have. Then I looked at myself in the mirror and said out loud, "What the hell are you doing here?" I walked back to the table. Bree looked up. Everything okay? I smiled, apologetic. I'm really sorry. I thought I was ready for this. But I'm not. Not with someone new. Not like this. She blinked. You're leaving? I think I already left. She frowned but didn't argue. I think she saw it in my eyes. Thanks for being honest, she said flatly. I left cash on the table, nodded politely, and walked out. Into the night. Into the truth. I drove around for no destination, just the low hum of headlights and the strange peace of admitting something hard to yourself. I didn't need to move on. I needed to sit still for a and when I finally pulled up to my driveway, Amanda's porch light was still on. She was sitting on the steps in pajama pants and a hoodie, a glass of wine in one hand and her phone in the other. I walked across the street before I even knew what I'd say. She looked up. Did you ditch your date? I think the date ditched me. She made room beside her. We sat in silence for a while. Then she said, I used to think I needed to be someone else to be worth loving. I looked at her. Turns out, she continued, I just needed someone who didn't mind that I still yell when I step on Legos and sometimes forget picture day. I stepped on a Lego once in socks. Nearly saw God. She laughed. And that sound, that laugh, it was better than all the wine in the world. That night, we didn't talk about what this was. We didn't define it or label it or dissect it. We just sat there. 2 tired people on a porch lit by bugs and hope, finding peace in the simplest thing, not pretending. The text came in at 3:27 p.m. If you're not busy and don't mind chaos, I could use an extra pair of lungs, or hands, or both. I didn't ask questions. I just replied, on my way. When I got to Amanda's house, the front door was slightly ajar, like even the structure itself had given up trying to hold everything together. Inside, it was a war zone. Mia was crying. Tyler was yelling something about a dinosaur that had gone missing, or was stolen, depending on who you believe. The TV was blaring Paw Patrol, and Amanda was on the floor, cross-legged, with her hands over her face. I stood in the doorway for a second, unsure if she'd noticed me. Emergency? I asked gently. She peeked through her fingers. Only if you count complete maternal breakdown. I walked in, stepped over a juice box, sat down beside her. Want to talk about it? Not really, she said. Want coffee? Yes. I made 2 cups from the machine that sounded like it might explode soon. Brought one back, handed it to her like it was sacred medicine. She took a sip. Exhale. You ever have one of those days where everything feels like an exam you didn't study for? Yeah, I said. They're called weekday. She almost smiled. Mia spilled yogurt in her backpack this morning and lied about it. Then her teacher called me to say she smacked another kid during recess for touching her hair. Tyler locked himself in the bathroom for 15 minutes because I gave him the wrong color spoon. I nodded like I was taking field notes. Then my ex showed up 20 minutes late to pick them up from school and told me I looked tired. She took another sip, jaw tight. Tired. He's lucky he didn't get decked. I considered throwing his organic protein bar at his head. The kids were watching. They'd have respected it, she sighed, And now they're both in a mood, and She looked at me, eyes suddenly glossy. I can't do it all today, Jason. It was the first time she'd said my name like that. Not joking, not casual, just needing. And the thing is, I didn't have a solution. I didn't have a manual or magic words or a Pinterest-worthy routine, so I did the only thing I could. Okay, I said. Then don't. She blinked. What? You don't have to do it all. Not right now, not today. You sit here. I'll take the kids outside. Outside? There's grass out there, and bugs. It's a whole ecosystem of distractions. She hesitated. They're not exactly easy. I'm not exactly fragile. She gave me a look. You're volunteering to babysit during peak cranky hours? I'm volunteering to give you a break, or at least enough silence to finish your coffee before it turns to sadness. She looked like she might cry again. Instead, she nodded. Okay, good luck. 10 minutes later, I was in the backyard with 2 miniature terrorists. Mia refused to wear shoes. Tyler insisted the only appropriate game was burying things and yelling. Do you even have a plan? Mia asked, arms crossed. Clearly the alpha. Yes, I lied. What is it? Fun. She was unimpressed. So I improvised. We played soccer with a half-deflated ball. We raced from one side of the yard to the other. I let them climb on my back like a playground structure. Tyler threw grass in my face and declared himself king of the bugs. And for a moment, I didn't feel like the guy who'd been left. I felt like I belonged somewhere. Amanda came out 20 minutes later. She was barefoot, holding 2 popsicles. Peace offering, she said. Mia and Tyler ran over like it was Christmas. I walked up behind them, shirt damp with sweat and dignity. You okay? I asked. She nodded. Yeah. I sat on the couch and stared at the wall for a full 11 minutes. Nice. Then I ate a granola bar in silence. Almost cried over it, but in a good way. I smiled. You're welcome. She looked at me, really looked at me, and for a second there was something in her eyes that wasn't exhaustion. It wasn't gratitude either. It was trust. Later, after the kids were bathed and buried in blankets watching a movie, I stayed. We cleaned the kitchen together, her washing, me drying. It was domestic, intimate, and entirely unspoken. Can I ask you something? She said. Always. Why are you doing this? Doing what? This. Helping. Staying. Showing up. I set the plate down. Because when you asked for company that first night, you didn't pretend it wasn't a mess. You just let me in, and I didn't feel like I had to perform or prove anything. It's not that I'm trying to repay that. It's just that being around you feels like not drowning, and that's rare. She was quiet. Then she said, You know, most guys would have bolted after seeing the yogurt incident. I'm not most guys. No, she said. You're not. When I left that night, she hugged me. Not long, not awkward, just honest. No one said anything about what it meant, and maybe we didn't have to. Maybe it was enough that on her hardest day, she didn't have to hold it all alone. And maybe, just maybe, I didn't eat. It was a Thursday when the ground shifted. The kind of Thursday that doesn't give you a heads up. That pretends it's just another frozen pizza, kids fighting in the background, dish piling up kind of day, until the phone rang. I was at Amanda's, as usual. At this point, it wasn't even a question. Our lives had started to overlap in the spaces between chaos. I came over after work. We cooked together. I helped with bath time. We laughed. We sat. Sometimes we just existed in the same room. No words needed. I hadn't called it love. She hadn't called it anything, but we both knew the name of it. Amanda was folding laundry when the phone rang. She looked at the screen and froze. I recognized the look instantly. It was her ex. Want me to step out? I asked. She shook her head, lips tight. No. Stay, she answered, voice neutral. Hey. Yeah. Everything's fine. What's up? She walked into the hallway, but I could still hear her sigh. What do you mean, job offer? In Houston? That's sudden. A pause. For how long? Another pause. Her fingers pinched the bridge of her nose. That's not part of the custody agreement, Brad. Her voice was low, controlled. No, you don't get to spring this on me and expect a yes. Long silence. Then, I'll think about it, but don't assume anything. She hung up, didn't speak for him, just stared at the laundry like it had personally betrayed her. Houston? I asked gently. She nodded. He got offered a promotion. Big money. Bigger hours. Wants to move and thinks taking the kids with him is logical. Is he serious? He always is when it's convenient. I sat down. What did you say? That I'd think about it. I blinked. You're not actually considering it. She looked at me. Jason, it's not that simple. Yes, it is. Your kids live here. Their school is here. Their lives are here. She sighed. You don't get it. If I say no, we go to court. Again. And he'll argue that he can give them more. More space. Better schools. Better opportunities. And on paper, he can. I'm just the exhausted single mom with the tiny house and the job that barely covers groceries. Stop. Her eyes locked on mine. You're the mom who knows how to comfort a kid after a nightmare, who knows every allergy, every bedtime story, every weird cereal preference. You are their life. Her voice cracked. I can't afford a custody battle right now. I stood. Then I'll help. She laughed, bitter. Jason, this isn't your fight. It is now. That stopped her. I'm not saying I can solve it, but I can be there. I am here. She looked away. You don't know what that means. You're not their father. No, I said. But I'm the guy who stayed, who hasn't run, who shows up with popsicles when you're drowning and takes grass to the face in the backyard just to make them laugh. She didn't argue. She just sat down, her shoulders shaking, not crying, just breaking, quietly. That night, we didn't watch TV. We didn't talk much. I stayed after the kids went to bed, sitting beside her on the floor as she tried to figure out how to breathe again. Tell me what you need, I finally said. She was silent for a long time. Then, I need someone to say I'm not crazy for wanting to fight. Even if I lose, you're not crazy. I need someone to remind me that I'm more than what a judge might see on a form. You're everything. She looked at me then, raw and tired and beautiful in that human, unscripted way. Then stay, please. I didn't leave that. I didn't sleep in her. I slept on the couch, blanket to my chin, the muffled sound of a kid snoring in the next room, and the quiet hum of a house that was cracking, but still standing. And for the first time in years, I wasn't dreaming about what I was dreaming about what I might fight for. The lawyer's office smelled like dust and old coffee. Amanda sat in the chair next to me, fingers knotted together in her lap, her foot bouncing like it was trying to run away without her. She hadn't spoken since we walked in. Neither had I. Some silences don't beg to be filled. They demand to be respected. A young receptionist with a nose ring and pink hair glanced up and smiled politely. He's just finishing up with a client. Shouldn't be long. Amanda nodded, didn't speak. I reached over and gently tapped the back of her hand. Her fingers flinched, then slowly loosened. She didn't look at me, but she let my hand stay. Her breathing was shallow, almost mechanical. Hey, I whispered. You're doing the right thing. She gave a small nod, like she heard me from far away. A door creaked open. A tall man in a wrinkled gray suit stepped out and waved us in. Ms. Brennan, come on in. Amanda stood like she weighed twice her size. We followed him into a narrow office lined with mismatched bookshelves and crooked diplomas. There was a fake plant in the corner that looked like it had lost hope sometime in 2008. Have a seat, he said, motioning to the two chairs across from his desk. I'm Tom. Amanda introduced herself, then glanced at me. This is Jason, she said. He's helping. Tom raised an eyebrow, but didn't question it. Good to have support. He pulled out a file folder. I looked over the brief details you sent by email, so let's get into it. Your ex is requesting to move out of state with the children? Amanda nodded. And you're opposing. Another nod. Tom leaned back. Okay, custody relocation is a messy lane, but not impossible. Do you share custody 50-50? Technically, Amanda said, but I have them more. He's inconsistent. Tom scribbled something. We'll need documentation, missed pickups, late drop-offs, any communication gaps, anything that shows instability. I have texts, Amanda said. Some emails too. Good. We'll need them. And do the children have opinions about moving? Mia's 8, she said. She understands. She said she doesn't want to go. Tyler's 5. He just wants juice. That got a chuckle out of Tom. First one of the meeting. Kids that age can be factored in, especially if there's a strong emotional bond to the primary caregiver, which clearly, you are. Amanda's face softened just a little. Then Tom said something that made it all real. We'll need to prepare for court. If he wants to fight, you'll need to prove that moving isn't in the best interest of the children. Amanda swallowed. And what if the judge sides with him? Tom was quiet for a second too long. We cross that bridge if we get to it. Back at her house, Amanda sat on the porch steps in complete silence. I brought her water. She didn't touch it. She was somewhere else. Mentally, emotionally, spiritually, staring through the street like it might disappear. You okay? I asked, knowing the answer. She gave a laugh that had no humor in it. They're just pieces of paper. That's all it is. Just words typed on pages. But they hold my life, my kids' lives. I sat beside her. I feel like I'm already losing. He has money, a lawyer. He knows how to spin a story. I just have receipts and rage. You also have truth, I said, and a bank account that's one flat tire away from overdraft. I hesitated. Then I pulled an envelope from my jacket. She looked at it like it was radioactive. What's that? A check. Jason. No, don't argue. Just listen. She closed her eyes, exhaled. Please don't do this. I want to, but it's not your responsibility. Maybe not, but it's my choice. And you don't have to, you don't even have to cash it. But I want you to know it's there, for court fee, for the lawyer, for whatever the hell keeps those kids right here where they belong. She stared at the didn't take it, didn't push it away either. I'm not used to this, she said finally. What? Someone backing me up, without a catch, without making me feel like I owe them something. You don't owe me anything. She looked at me, eyes red but dry. That's the scariest part. The kids came home later that night, sugar high and overtired. The noise was oddly comforting, like life saying, hey, it's messy, but it's moving. I stayed for dinner, helped wash dishes, read a bedtime story so Amanda could take a long shower. I didn't ask questions. I didn't try to fix anything. I just stayed. When the house was finally quiet, Amanda sat on the couch, legs curled under her. "I think I need to let you help," she said softly. I nodded. "I've been waiting for you to say that. I'm scared. So am I. But I trust you." The words sat heavy between us. Not romantic, not dramatic, just true. Trust, after what we'd both been through, was a risk bigger than love. Later, as I walked home, I looked at the house across the street. The porch light was still on, but it didn't feel like a flicker in the dark anymore. It felt like a beacon, and I realized something. I wasn't just helping her carry the weight. I was carrying it with her, and maybe, just maybe, we could make it all the way through. The message came at 9:12 a.m. on a Saturday. Amanda was in the kitchen, trying to wrangle Tyler into pants that didn't have dinosaurs on. Mia was mid-meltdown over a missing headband. And me? I was standing by the window with my coffee, watching a text pop up on Amanda's phone. It read, "I know about him. Might want to be careful who you let around our kids. Brad." I felt my stomach turn. Amanda hadn't seen it yet. She was still knee-deep in the morning madness, trying to keep things normal for the kids, while reality was clearly gearing up to punch her in the throat. I picked up the phone, walked into the kitchen, and handed it to her. Her eyes scanned the screen. She blinked once, then again, then sighed like something inside her cracked a little. "Of course," she muttered. "What does he think he's doing?" She set the phone down carefully, too carefully, like it might explode. "Leveraging," she said flatly. "That's what he does. He's not just playing for custody, and he's trying to paint me as reckless. Because of me? Because of anything he can weaponize. You're just a convenient new thing he can twist." I could feel the burn rise in my chest. "I haven't done anything wrong." "You don't have to. He'll just imply it. Whisper it in court. Single mom lets strange men sleep over. He'll never say it directly. Just drip poison until it sticks." I paced the room. "This is harassment. It's strategy," she said. "And it works. The system doesn't care about subtext. It sees instability and flags it." I stopped pacing. "So what do we do?" She leaned against the counter. For the first time since I'd met her, she looked scared in a way that made my jaw tighten. "I don't know." That night, after the kids were in bed, we sat on the porch again. The air was warm, heavy, the kind of summer night that wraps around your lungs like a damp towel. Amanda was quiet for a long time. Then she finally said, "Maybe you should back off." I looked at her. "What?" "Just until this is over. Stay away. Don't come around as much." It hit like a slap I didn't see coming. "You're serious?" She didn't answer right away. "I don't want to give him more ammo." "So I become ammo?" She winced. "You know that's not what I meant. Feels like I'm trying to protect my kids. And I'm trying to protect you." "Jason," she said softly, "if being with me costs you, your reputation, your sanity, your peace, you need to know you can walk away." I stared at her, and that's when I realized this wasn't fear talking. This was love. Because only someone who cares about you tries to push you away when they think staying will hurt you. "I'm not going anywhere." She looked up. "You don't need to protect me from loving you," I said. "Let him threaten. Let him dig. I've got nothing to hide." She swallowed hard. "Jason, this could get ugly." "It already is," I said. "And I'm still here." 2 days later, Brad showed up unannounced. I was mowing Amanda's lawn. She'd mentioned it in passing, and I figured it was something useful I could do instead of just showing up with snacks and sarcasm. I was halfway through when a silver Lexus pulled. He stepped out like he was walking into a courtroom. Buttoned shirt, sunglasses, smug attitude. It came with a subscription. He didn't look at me first, just marched up the steps and knocked. Amanda opened the door. I couldn't hear everything from across the lawn, but I didn't need subtitles. His voice was too loud, his gestures sharp. Amanda held her ground, arms crossed. Then he pointed at me. That's when I walked over. "Is there a problem?" I asked. He turned, smirking. "You must be the new hobby." "Jason," Amanda said sharply, a warning in her tone. I ignored it. Brad looked me up and down. "You sleep here too, or just mow the lawn for kicks?" I took a slow. "Not that it's your business, but I help where I'm welcome," he sneered. "Yeah, well, let's see how long that lasts once this goes to court. Judges don't like instability. Strangers in the home." Amanda stepped between us. "That's enough, Brad." He leaned closer to her. "Keep bringing this guy around, and I promise you'll regret it." Then he turned and walked back to his car. Amanda stood stiff, hands clenched. I watched the Lexus pull away, tires too fast, too loud, and I knew, in that moment, something had changed. Inside, Amanda paced the kitchen. "I should have called the cops," she muttered. "I should have told him to get lost. You held your ground. I hate that he can still do this. Get under my skin. Make me feel small. He wants you to react." She stopped pacing. "Then why do I want to scream?" "Because you're human," I said. "But so am I. And he needs to know that this This isn't just your life anymore. She looked at me. Are you saying you want in? I stepped closer. I already am. Later that night, Amanda drafted an email to her lawyer, documenting the confrontation. I helped her edit it. Tight language, no emotion, just facts. We were learning how to fight smarter, not with shouting, with paper, with timestamps, with witnesses, with each other. As I walked back to my house across the street, I didn't feel like a neighbor anymore. I felt like someone who had picked a side, and I was done pretending that my place in all this was temporary. The first blow didn't come from Amanda's ex, it came from my boss. I was at my desk, half distracted by a spreadsheet and half waiting for a text from Amanda about her lawyer's reply. Mondays were slow, especially in IT support, and my mind had a habit of wandering, usually across the street, toward a house full of noise and purpose. Jason, my manager Dan said, appearing like a middle-aged genie behind my cubicle wall. You got a second? I nodded and followed him to his office. I didn't think much of it. He was a decent guy. Wore Hawaiian shirts on Fridays. Brought in donuts on birthdays. Today, no donuts. He closed the door. I've noticed you've been preoccupied lately, he said. Preoccupied? Let's not play dumb. You've taken more PTO in the last 2 months than you did in the last 2 years. I had things come up, I replied carefully. I'm aware, he said, and I'm not unsympathetic. You're dealing with a personal situation. He said it like he was quoting a vague medical file. But, he continued, this job still needs your full attention, especially with the merger happening next quarter. I sat straighter. Is this a warning? It's a conversation, he said, but his voice had already shifted into HR mode. We value you, but I need to know, are you in, or are you already halfway out the door? I opened my mouth to say something easy, something vague and polished, but all I said was, I'm in. He studied me for a beat. Good, he said, like he didn't quite believe me. Then show it. That night, Amanda could tell something was off the moment I walked through the door. Work? She asked. Yeah. She poured me a glass of wine and didn't press, one of the many reasons I loved her. But after dinner, while folding the kids' laundry, I finally said, they think I'm distracted. Amanda glanced over. Are you? I didn't used to be. I used to clock in, do the job, clock out, and spend the rest of the night trying to convince myself my life was fine. She smiled softly. And now? Now I have something real. And I guess, yeah, I'm distracted, but I'm not drifting. I'm finally awake. Amanda didn't say anything for a moment. Then she said, you know you don't have to keep choosing this, right? I stared at her. She continued folding, her hands moving steadily. You didn't sign up for a custody battle, for courtrooms, for lawyers, for exes showing up unannounced. You could go back to your quiet life. No one would blame you. I would, I said. She looked up. I'd blame me. The second blow came from my mother. We weren't close. Not anymore. My divorce had complicated everything. She had liked Lauren, loved her actually, thought we were the perfect suburban success story, and when that story fell apart, she quietly picked a side. Hint, it wasn't mine. So when she called out of the blue, I almost let it go to voicemail. Almost. Hi, Mom. Jason, she said, with that mix of warmth and judgment only mothers can master. I heard from Caroline that you're seeing someone new. Caroline, my cousin. Human group chat. I am, I said. Her name's Amanda. I see. Silence. Single mother? 2 kids, right? I sighed. Yes. I just hope you're thinking with your head. That was her way of saying, don't screw up again. I am, I replied, keeping my voice level. She's going through a custody dispute? She is. Jason. Her voice softened, but it didn't help. You've always had a big heart, but this isn't your mess. Don't get swallowed by it. I stood by the window, looking across the street at Amanda's porch. I'm already in it, I said, and it doesn't feel like a mess. It feels like home. That shut her up for a second. Then, just don't lose yourself trying to fix someone else's life. I'm not fixing anything, I said. I'm building something. The third blow came quietly, from me, from inside. It hit one night while I was helping Tyler with his math homework. He was sitting at the table, tongue sticking out in concentration, drawing a rectangle that was supposed to be a triangle. Amanda was in the kitchen, humming to herself. Mia was in the living room braiding her doll's hair like it was a sacred ritual. And in that moment, I realized something terrifying. I loved them, all of them, not in a vague, Hallmark sense. Not just Amanda. I loved her kids. I loved their stubbornness, their messiness, their constant wild need for attention and snacks. I loved being part of it, and the fear that followed was immediate. What if I lose this? Not because Amanda pushes me away, but because life does. Court rulings, jobs, money, time. I wasn't just invested, I was attached. That night, Amanda and I sat on the back porch. The kids were asleep. The crickets were loud. The stars were somewhere above the haze of suburban light pollution. I think I'm in trouble, I said. She smiled. Did you eat Mia's last granola bar again? I looked at her serious. I love them, I said. I love all of you. Her smile faded. Jason, I know it's fast. I know it's messy. I know it's more than either of us planned. But I needed to say it out loud. Because every day I stay in this, the more I know it's not just loyalty, it's love. She didn't cry. She didn't run. She just took my hand and said, then we fight for this. All of it. Together. We got there early. Amanda hadn't spoken much on the drive. She sat in the passenger seat twisting a hair tie around her wrist over and over. Like if she stopped moving her hands, her heart would fall apart. I parked 2 blocks from the courthouse. Not because there wasn't closer parking. There was. But Amanda needed the walk. She needed the 2 blocks of fresh air and denial before facing the sterile reality of family law. I hate the smell of court building, she muttered as we stepped through the metal detectors. They all smell like recycled fear. I didn't know what to say, so I squeezed her hand. She squeezed back, but her palm was damp. Tom, her lawyer, was already inside. Briefcase open, sleeves rolled up. He looked like he'd fought 5 battles this morning before breakfast, and hadn't lost any of them. He nodded at us. Judge is on time today. We'll go in soon. Amanda's eyes darted around. Brad? Not here yet, Tom said. He'll show. And he did. 3 minutes later. Fresh haircut, clean suit. That smug composure he always wore like cologne. He didn't look at Amanda. He didn't look at me either. He just nodded at his lawyer, who was so polished he looked like he'd been grown in a lab for depositions. Amanda's shoulders tensed. Tom turned to her. You ready? No, she said. Good, he said. No one ever is. The courtroom was colder than I expected. Not in temperature, in energy. No drama, no shouting, no objection. Just quiet formality and legal monotony, like divorce was being filed through a copy machine. The judge was a woman, middle-aged, tired eyes, wedding ring. She called the case number and we stood. Amanda sat at the petitioner's table, Brad at the respondent's. I sat behind Amanda, in the second row, flanked by an older couple I assumed were Brad's parents. They didn't look at me either. Tom stood. Your Honor, we are here today because Mr. Langston is requesting to relocate the children out of state, citing a new employment opportunity in Houston. Ms. Brennan is contesting the move, believing it is not in the best interest of the children. The judge nodded, made a note, and then, just like that, they began. It wasn't dramatic. It was methodical. Tom laid out Amanda's case. Stability, emotional attachment, daily routine, school involvement, community. He presented texts and emails from Brad that showed his inconsistent pickup times, last-minute cancellations, and passive-aggressive commentary. He played a voicemail Brad left in which he told Amanda, maybe you'd be taken more seriously if you weren't letting some random guy play house with my kids. That one got the judge's eyebrows to twit. Amanda didn't look back at me. She stared straight ahead, like if she blinked, she'd fall apart. Brad's lawyer argued economic advantage, better schools in Houston, more resources, a larger home, private health insurance. They made Amanda sound like she was scraping change off sidewalks to buy juice boxes. Then Brad took the stand. His voice was smooth. He said all the right things. He respected Amanda. He valued her role, but he felt he could provide a better future. He used words like opportunity, stability, advancement. He even managed to sneak in a little jab. It's not that I don't think she's doing her best. I just don't think a part-time web designer in a rental house can offer the same future I can. Tom objected, sustained, but the damage was done. I saw Amanda's jaw clench. Then she took the stand. Tom asked her the usual questions about the kids' daily routines, their teachers, their favorite meals, bedtimes, friendships. Amanda answered clearly, confidently. She didn't cry. She didn't fumble. But she didn't perform either. She told the truth. And then Brad's lawyer stood and began. Ms. Brennan, would you consider yourself financially stable? Amanda blinked. Stable? Yes. Wealthy? No. Your bank statements show a balance that's dipped below $100 multiple times this year. Welcome to single parenting, she replied. I bit my lip to keep from smiling. The lawyer didn't. Would you say your home environment is ideal? It's loving. But small isn't a crime. Do you currently have a male partner living with you? Amanda hesitated. He doesn't live with me, but he's a part of our lives. This man, Jason, does he spend nights in the home with the children present? Yes. The lawyer nodded, scribbled something. Are you aware of his background? Amanda narrowed her eyes. Yes. He's not a criminal, if that's what you're fishing for. No, just confirming. No marriage? No kids of his own? No marriage, no kids. Would you say he has parental experience? He has compassion. That counts. I could feel my heart hammering as they grilled her, like it was me up there. But Amanda didn't break. She didn't cry. She didn't yell. She just held the line. When they finally let her step down, She walked back to the table like she was walking through fire, and never once looked away from the judge. The judge called a short recess before final remarks. In the hallway, Amanda leaned against the wall, shaking. I stood beside her, wanting to scoop her up and carry her out of this building forever. "I think I'm gonna puke," she whispered. "You didn't flinch," I said. "I wanted to. But you didn't." She looked at me, eyes full of something too heavy to name. "Whatever happens," she said, "you stayed, and that matters." I squeezed her hand. "I'm not going anywhere." Back inside, the judge returned. She spoke for 15 minutes, neutral, slow, citing precedent and jurisdiction. And then, near the end, she said the words, "Given the evidence presented, the court finds insufficient cause to justify relocation. The children will remain with the petitioner, Ms. Brennan, in their current residence. Custody agreement to remain in effect." Amanda exhaled. Not a cry, not a sob, just a long, shaking breath that sounded like her lungs were tasting oxygen for the first time in months. Afterward, outside the courthouse, Brad stormed past without a word. His lawyer mumbled something about appeals. Amanda watched them go, arms crossed, face unreadable. I stood behind her. Then she turned and hugged me, right there on the sidewalk. Tight, grateful, spent. It wasn't romantic, it was relief. Like surviving a storm and finding someone still holding your hand afterward. "I can't believe it," she whispered. "You don't have to. I don't know what comes next. Then we figure it out, together." Winning doesn't always feel like winning. The ruling came down on a Tuesday, and by Wednesday morning, the real aftermath began. Not with legal papers, but with the silence that followed them. No court dates to count down to, no affidavits to review, no depositions hanging over the dinner table like storm clouds. Just life. And it felt almost foreign. Amanda was quieter now, not withdrawn exactly, just tired in a different way. Not the kind of tired from too little sleep, but the kind that comes after months of holding your breath and suddenly remembering how lungs work. "You okay?" I asked her one morning as she stirred coffee that had gone cold 15 minutes ago. She nodded, not looking up. "Yeah, it just feels weird to breathe again." That made sense. We'd both been underwater for so long the surface felt suspicious. The kids didn't understand the gravity of the court decision. They just knew they weren't moving, that Mommy wasn't crying as much, that Jason still came over for dinner and sometimes helped with homework, even when Tyler insisted 2 + 2 was actually 22. To them, life was just normal again, and maybe that was the point. We'd fought for the right to keep things ordinary, but ordinary has a way of revealing what was ignored during the chaos. One night, Amanda and I sat on the couch after the kids had. The house was quiet, the wine was open, and the question we'd both been avoiding finally surfaced. "So what now?" she asked. I didn't pretend not to understand. "I don't know," I said. "I mean, this thing between us. It started in survival mode. It's been crisis after crisis. Now the storm's passed." I looked at her. "Are you asking if we're only good at falling apart together?" "I'm asking if we work when things are stable." The question was fair and terrifying. The truth is, part of me had been living in her world like a guest, helping, supporting, caring, but also waiting. Waiting to see if there was a seat for me at the table permanently, or if I was just the guy who brought candles during a blackout. I leaned back. "I'm not going to pretend I have all the answers," I said, "but I do know I didn't show up because of a crisis. I stayed because I want to be here, not just in emergencies, in the morning after mundanity too." Amanda nodded slowly. "I believe you. I do. I just don't want to trap you in a life you didn't build." "You didn't trap me," I said. I walked in, willingly. She was quiet for a moment. Then she asked a question so soft I almost missed it. "Do you think you'd ever want this for real? Like, your own version of this?" I swallowed. It wasn't the first time I'd thought about it, but it was the first time the question came from her lips. "I think I already do," I said. She reached for my hand. "Okay, just that. Nothing more." But it meant everything. The days after that were gentler. Amanda began reclaiming her life, one decision at a time. She updated her resume, applied to 3 better-paying remote jobs. She even looked into therapy, not because she was broken, but because she was finally ready to rebuild. Mia joined a soccer team. Tyler started sleeping through the night without wetting the bed. They fought less, laughed more. Amanda let them stay up late one Friday night to watch a movie and eat popcorn on the couch, and when I asked her why, she said, "Because I can." There was joy again, small, imperfect joy, and it was beautiful. But joy doesn't erase fear. One night, I came over to find Amanda sitting on the porch, looking out into the dark. "What's wrong?" I asked. She took a long sip of her drink before answering. "I'm terrified this is temporary." "This?" "Everything. The peace, the quiet. You." I sat beside her. "I'm not temporary." "You say that. I'll keep saying it." She looked at me, really looked. "Do you think we could ever make this a forever thing?" I paused, then said the only thing I truly believed. I think we already are. But forever isn't built on feelings alone. It takes choices. So the next morning, I made one. I found a 2-bedroom apartment for rent a few blocks away. Nothing fancy, but big enough for a future. I signed the lease that afternoon. Amanda didn't know yet, not because I was hiding it, because I wanted to show her that forever didn't mean moving in and losing space. It meant building something with intention. Later that night, I walked her over to it. "This is mine," I said. She looked confused. "You're moving?" "Not away, just forward." She stepped inside, looked around. Bare walls, empty fridge, clean counters. "I didn't want to crowd you," I said. "I wanted you to know this isn't pressure, it's presence. I'm close, but I'm not invading. This is our reset. No court, no lawyers, just us." She looked at me with tears in her eyes. "You're really serious about this?" "I am." She stepped closer. "I think I love you. I know I love you." And just like that, something unspoken settled, but not a promise, a direction. It was Sunday morning, and nothing hurt. No court dates on the calendar, no emails from lawyers, no surprise drop-ins from Brad. The kids were asleep, the coffee was hot, and Amanda was barefoot in my kitchen, humming off-key and wearing a hoodie that definitely used to be mine. And for the first time in a long time, I didn't feel like I was waiting for the other shoe to drop, because both shoes had already dropped, set the house on fire, and we'd rebuilt the damn thing barefoot anyway. Now, we were just standing together. "Do you want eggs or pancakes?" I asked. "Neither," Amanda said. "I want toast I don't have to." "Your wish is my command," she smirked. "I'll remind you of that next time I ask you to unclog the shower drain." I passed her a plate with toast, and she kissed me on the cheek like it was the most natural thing in the world, because now, later, we walked the kids to the park. Mia raced ahead, legs flailing in wild freedom. Tyler held Amanda's hand like it was a rope anchoring him to the earth. It wasn't just a walk, it was a statement. We had survived. We had not become statistics. We had become a story, not a perfect one. Not the kind they put in romantic comedies or Instagram reels with soft piano music, but a real one. Amanda leaned over as we walked. "Did I ever tell you I didn't think I'd make it out of this year?" I looked at her. "No, but I knew. I was running on fumes and rage for so long I forgot what peace even looked like. And now?" She smiled. "Now peace looks like juice boxes, walks to the park, and a man who doesn't flinch when the kids scream like banshees." I grinned. High threshold for chaos. It's a gift. It's love. That night, we had dinner at Amanda's house. Spaghetti, too much garlic bread, and one failed attempt at convincing the kids that broccoli wouldn't actually kill them. After they went to bed, we sat on the porch, feet up, sipping wine from mugs because all the glasses were in the dishwasher. "I never asked," Amanda said. "What happened to your old place?" "You mean the bachelor cave?" "Yeah, still there," I said. "But honestly, feels like a museum now. Every time I go back I just miss the noise." She looked at me. "Then why don't you let it go?" I raised an eyebrow. "You asking me to move in?" She sipped her wine. "I'm saying you practically live here anyway. The kids ask where you are when you're not around. The dog, if we ever get one, will probably think your name is Jason, not now." I laughed, then paused. "You sure?" "I'm sure that I'm not scared anymore," she said, "of needing someone, of being seen, of letting this be real." I looked. Okay? I'll break my lease tomorrow." We moved slow, not out of fear, out of respect. Boxes over time. Toothbrush first, then books. Then my mug collection that Mia immediately claimed as hers. We never made a big announcement to the kids. We didn't need to. They just woke up one morning and realized the guy who used to visit sometimes now helped make breakfast and fix leaky faucets. They didn't question it. They just welcomed it. One evening, a few months in, Tyler fell and scraped his knee. Amanda was at the store. Mia panicked. Tyler screamed. And I, without thinking, scooped him up, cleaned the cut, and sang some ridiculous made-up song about Band-Aids and dinosaur knees. By the time Amanda got home, he was fine, and Mia was eating a popsicle like nothing had happened. She looked at me. "You didn't call me. I didn't need to." And that's when I realized something. This wasn't Amanda's house anymore. It was our home. Christmas came, the first real one. No tension, no divided holiday schedule. Just lights, laughter, and a fake tree Mia insisted on decorating entirely immense. I watched Amanda open the gift I'd wrapped badly. A framed photo of the four of us at the zoo. Tyler on my shoulder, Mia holding a melting ice cream cone, Amanda laughing like she didn't have the weight of the world on her for once. She stared at it, said nothing, just hugged me, hard. One night in late January, I woke up to find Amanda sitting at the kitchen table with her laptop. "Couldn't sleep?" I asked. She shook her head. "Writing." "Writing what?" She turned the screen toward me. It was the first draft of a blog post. Title, "What Love Looks Like After the Fire." "I think I want to tell our story," she said. "Not for pity, not for followers. Just for people like me, who are still in it, who think no one will ever show up for them." I nodded. "Then write it." She smiled. "With your name in it?" I leaned down and kissed her temple. with all of me in it. We didn't get a fairy tale ending, but we got something better. We got choice. We chose each other. Every day, through tired mornings, chaotic dinners, sick kids, career changes, and long nights. Love didn't fix everything, but it gave everything the space to heal. Amanda didn't need rescuing. She needed a partner. I didn't need perfection. I needed something real. We gave that to each other, and we're still giving it every single day.